When a couple decides to leave home to quickly resolve something, leaving their young child alone, they return to an unbelievable surprise. As they open the door, they are shocked to find a rabid dog trying to harm them. What worries them more is that their young child is inside the house. Later, the parents are in tears as they discover the reason for the dog's invasion. The quaint suburban neighborhood of Oakville, a picturesque town just outside of Boston, Massachusetts, was bathed in the warm glow of an early autumn afternoon. Maple trees lining Elm Street swayed gently in the breeze, their leaves beginning to turn vibrant shades of red and gold. The air carried a crisp scent of fallen leaves and distant wood smoke, hinting at the approaching cozy evenings. At number 42 Elm Street stood a charming two-story colonial house, its white clapboard siding gleaming in the sunlight. A meticulously maintained front yard boasted a lush green lawn, bordered by colorful flower beds where the last blooms of summer mingled with early chrysanthemums. A winding cobblestone path led to a welcoming front porch, complete with a cushioned swing that creaked softly in the wind. Inside the Thompson home, warm sunlight streamed through lace curtains, casting intricate patterns on polished hardwood floors. The living room exuded comfort with its overstuffed armchairs and a plush sofa adorned with handmade quilts. Family photos adorned the walls, telling a visual story of love and togetherness. The air was filled with the inviting aroma of freshly baked cookies, a testament to Mrs. Thompson's efforts to create a nurturing environment. Upstairs, a small bedroom at the end of the hallway stood out from the rest. Its walls, recently painted a cheerful sky blue, were mostly bare, save for a few carefully placed posters of superheroes and cartoon characters. A twin bed with rocket ship bedding occupied one corner, while a pine desk and bookshelf stood opposite, waiting to be filled with childhood treasures and memories yet to be made. This room belonged to Ethan, the newest member of the Thompson family. At 8 years old, Ethan had only recently joined the household, bringing with him a mix of hope, uncertainty, and a hidden past that was about to collide with his new present in ways no one could have anticipated. At the heart of our story is Ethan, an 8-year-old boy with tousled brown hair and eyes that sparkled with both curiosity and caution. Recently adopted by the Thompson family, Ethan carried himself with a quiet resilience that belied his young age. His small frame often tensed at sudden noises, a subtle reminder of the challenges he'd faced before finding his new home. Despite his reserved nature, Ethan's face would occasionally light up with a smile that could warm the coldest of hearts, especially when he spoke of his former canine companion, Buddy. Sarah and Michael Thompson, Ethan's adoptive parents, were a couple in their mid-40s who had long dreamed of expanding their family. Sarah, a kindergarten teacher with auburn hair and a warm, inviting presence, had a natural affinity for nurturing young minds. Her green eyes often crinkled at the corners, a testament to her frequent smiles and patience. Michael, a software engineer with salt and pepper hair and a sturdy build, balanced his analytical mind with a gentle demeanor. His strong hands, more accustomed to typing code, now found joy in building model airplanes with Ethan. The Thompsons approached their role as new parents with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. They showered Ethan with love and attention, carefully navigating the delicate balance between making him feel at home and respecting the adjustment period he needed. Their home, once quiet, now buzzed with the gentle hum of family life as they worked to create a safe haven for their new son. Lurking in the shadows of Ethan's past was Buddy, a mixed-breed dog with a scruffy coat and soulful brown eyes. Despite his absence from Ethan's new life, Buddy remained a pivotal character in our story. Medium-sized with patches of tan and white fur, Buddy possessed an uncanny intelligence and unwavering loyalty. His muscular frame belied a gentle nature, though he could transform into a fierce protector when Ethan was threatened. Buddy had been more than just a pet to Ethan. He was a guardian, a confidant, and a source of unconditional love during the tumultuous months following the loss of Ethan's birth mother. Their bond, forged in the crucible of homelessness and uncertainty, was unbreakable. Buddy's absence in Ethan's new life left an invisible wound that the boy struggled to articulate to his adoptive parents. The supporting cast included Mrs. Abigail Foster, the Thompsons' next-door neighbor. A kindly widow in her 70s with silver hair and twinkling blue eyes, Mrs. Foster quickly took to Ethan, often inviting him over for freshly baked cookies and stories of her world travels. Her gentle nature and infinite patience made her a comforting presence for the boy as he adjusted to his new surroundings. Lastly, there was Officer Jake Sullivan, a local police officer with a reputation for fairness and community involvement. With his broad shoulders and reassuring smile, Officer Sullivan became an unexpected ally in the unfolding drama, his role bridging the gap between Ethan's past and present. On a crisp Saturday afternoon, Sarah and Michael decided to make a quick trip to the grocery store, leaving Ethan at home for the first time since his adoption. They assured him they'd be back within the hour, and Ethan, though apprehensive, nodded bravely. As the Thompsons' car pulled out of the driveway, Ethan settled on the living room couch with a comic book. The house fell into an eerie silence, broken only by the occasional turn of a page. Suddenly, a familiar scratching sound at the back door caught Ethan's attention. His heart raced as he cautiously approached, barely daring to hope. The moment Ethan cracked open the door, a blur of tan and white fur burst through. Buddy, looking thinner but unmistakable, bounded into the living room, tail wagging furiously. Ethan's joyous laughter filled the air as he buried his face in Buddy's fur, tears of happiness streaming down his cheeks. However, their reunion was short-lived. The sound of a car pulling into the driveway signaled the Thompsons' return. As the front door opened, Buddy's demeanor shifted dramatically, his hackles raised, a low growl rumbling in his throat as he positioned himself protectively in front of Ethan. The moment Sarah and Michael Thompson stepped through the front door, the atmosphere in their once peaceful home shifted dramatically. Buddy, hackles raised and teeth bared, stood between them and Ethan, his low growl filling the room with tension. Sarah's eyes widened in shock, her hand flying to her mouth to stifle a gasp. "Ethan, sweetheart, don't move," she said, her voice trembling slightly as she tried to maintain calm. Michael, instinctively stepping in front of his wife, assessed the situation with a mixture of fear and determination. "It's okay," Ethan's small voice piped up from behind Buddy. "This is my friend, Buddy. He won't hurt me." The boy's hand rested gently on the dog's back, a stark contrast to Buddy's aggressive stance. The Thompsons exchanged a bewildered look, their minds racing to comprehend the situation. This was the first time they'd seen Ethan so animated, so connected to something. Yet the apparent danger posed by the aggressive dog created a palpable conflict between their desire to protect their new son and their wish to understand this unexpected development. Michael, his voice low and steady, addressed Ethan. "Son, can you tell us about Buddy? Where did he come from?" As he spoke, he slowly inched forward, causing Buddy to growl more fiercely. Sarah, her teacher's intuition kicking in, recognized the delicate nature of the moment. She knelt down, bringing herself to Ethan's eye level, though maintaining a safe distance from Buddy. "It's all right, Ethan. We're not angry. We just want to understand. Can you tell us more about Buddy?" As the tension in the room simmered, Ethan's shoulders relaxed slightly. He looked from Sarah to Michael, then back to Buddy, his young mind grappling with how to explain the complex bond he shared with the dog. The revelation hit Sarah and Michael like a physical force. They knew Ethan had been through hardship before his adoption, but the extent of his struggles was only now becoming clear. Sarah's eyes welled with tears, her heart aching for the trials this young boy had endured. Michael, struggling to maintain his composure, slowly lowered himself to sit on the floor, mirroring his wife's position. This subtle change in posture seemed to ease Buddy's aggression slightly, though the dog remained vigilant. Ethan nodded, unconsciously leaning into Buddy for support. "For a while, Buddy found me. He brought me food and kept me warm at night." The boy's hand absently stroked the dog's fur, a gesture that spoke volumes about their shared history. As Ethan began to open up, sharing snippets of his life on the streets with Buddy, a transformation occurred. The Thompsons watched in awe as their usually reserved son became animated, his eyes lighting up as he recounted tales of Buddy's bravery and loyalty. Through Ethan's stories, Sarah and Michael gained a newfound understanding of their adopted son's past. They saw Buddy not just as a potential threat, but as a crucial part of Ethan's survival story. The dog's aggressive behavior towards them took on a new context. It wasn't malice, but a deep-seated instinct to protect Ethan from potential harm. As the conversation progressed, Buddy's posture gradually relaxed, sensing the shift in the room's energy. The Thompsons, too, found their fear being replaced by a complex mix of emotions: compassion for Ethan's past struggles, gratitude for Buddy's protection, and uncertainty about how to move forward. As the initial shock of Buddy's appearance subsided, the Thompsons found themselves facing a series of complex challenges. The first and most immediate was the legal and practical issue of keeping Buddy in their home. Michael, ever the pragmatist, voiced his concerns. Sarah nodded in agreement, adding, "And sweetie, our lease agreement, we're not sure if we're allowed to have dogs here." The pain in Ethan's voice was palpable, and it struck at the hearts of both Sarah and Michael. They exchanged a glance, silently acknowledging the delicate balance they needed to strike between addressing practical concerns and supporting their son's emotional needs. Another significant challenge arose from Buddy's aggressive behavior towards anyone he perceived as a threat to Ethan. While the dog had calmed somewhat during their conversation, his protective instincts were clearly still on high alert. This posed a potential danger, not just to the Thompsons, but to anyone who might interact with Ethan. "We need to think about safety, Ethan," Sarah explained gently. "Buddy seems very protective of you, which is wonderful, but we can't have him growling or trying to bite people who come near you." As if to underscore her point, a knock at the door caused Buddy to leap to his feet, hackles raised once more. It was Mrs. Foster, their kindly neighbor, dropping by with a freshly baked apple pie. The moment she stepped into the entryway, Buddy's growls filled the air, causing the elderly woman to stumble back in fright. The incident highlighted yet another obstacle, explaining Buddy's sudden appearance to their neighbors and friends. The Thompsons had been active members of their community, and Ethan's adoption had been celebrated by many. How would they react to this unexpected development? Moreover, as Ethan clung to Buddy, whispering reassurances to calm him down, Sarah and Michael realized they were facing a deeper challenge. How could they help Ethan integrate his past, symbolized so powerfully by Buddy, with his present and future in their family? The dog's presence had unlocked a part of Ethan they hadn't seen before, but it also brought to the surface trauma and experiences they felt ill-equipped to handle. As the days progressed, new challenges emerged, testing the Thompson family's resilience and adaptability. One of the most pressing issues was Buddy's impact on Ethan's routine and progress in his new life. Since Buddy's arrival, Ethan had become increasingly withdrawn from activities that didn't involve the dog. He resisted going to school, afraid that Buddy wouldn't be there when he returned. Nighttime proved especially difficult, with Ethan insisting that Buddy sleep in his room, leading to disrupted sleep for the entire household due to the dog's vigilant barking at every nocturnal sound. Sarah found herself torn between her role as a nurturing mother and her responsibilities as a teacher. "Ethan, sweetheart," she said one morning, kneeling beside his bed where he lay curled up with Buddy. "I know you're worried about leaving Buddy, but you need to go to school. Education is important." Ethan's response was to bury his face in Buddy's fur, his small body shaking with silent sobs. The scene broke Sarah's heart, highlighting the delicate balance they needed to strike between addressing Ethan's emotional needs and maintaining the structure necessary for his development. Meanwhile, Michael grappled with the financial implications of their new situation. Veterinary checkups, vaccinations, and proper food for Buddy were unexpected expenses, Moreover, the potential need to move to a pet-friendly apartment or house loomed large, adding financial stress to an already emotionally charged situation. The Thompsons also faced scrutiny from social services. Their caseworker, Ms. Jenkins, expressed concern during her routine visit. "While I understand the emotional significance of the dog," she said, her tone professionally neutral, "we need to ensure that this situation doesn't hinder Ethan's adjustment to his new family. The goal is to move forward, not to dwell in the past." Her words, though well-intentioned, struck fear into the Thompsons' hearts. Could their decision to keep Buddy jeopardize Ethan's placement with them? The thought was unbearable, yet they couldn't ignore the potential ramifications. Another significant challenge arose in the form of Ethan's emerging behavioral issues. The usually quiet, compliant child began exhibiting outbursts of anger and defiance, particularly when separated from Buddy. During a parent-teacher conference, Ethan's teacher, Mr. Wilson, expressed his concerns. "Ethan's academic performance is suffering," Mr. Wilson explained, showing them Ethan's recent test scores. "More worryingly, he's become confrontational with his classmates, especially when they ask about his past or his dog." This revelation forced the Thompsons to confront a difficult question. Was Buddy's presence, despite its emotional importance to Ethan, ultimately hindering the boy's ability to heal and move forward? They found themselves walking a tightrope between honoring Ethan's past and securing his future, with no clear path in sight. Faced with the mounting challenges, the Thompsons decided to take a proactive approach. Their first step was to consult with a professional dog trainer who specialized in rehabilitating rescue animals. Jessica arrived at the Thompson home a few days later, her presence immediately putting Buddy on alert. However, her calm demeanor and expert handling soon had the dog responding positively. Over the next few weeks, the Thompsons diligently followed Jessica's training regimen. They worked on desensitizing Buddy to their presence, gradually increasing their proximity to Ethan without triggering the dog's protective instincts. Meanwhile, Sarah focused on helping Ethan process his emotions. She introduced a feelings journal, encouraging Ethan to write or draw about his experiences with Buddy, both past and present. This moment of vulnerability opened up new avenues for communication between Ethan and his adoptive parents. They began to understand the depth of Ethan's traumatic experiences and the crucial role Buddy had played in his survival. As the Thompsons worked on integrating Buddy into their lives, they also took steps to address the legal and practical concerns. Michael reached out to their landlord, explaining the unique situation and Buddy's importance to Ethan's well-being. After some negotiation and an agreement to pay an additional pet deposit, they received permission to keep Buddy. Sarah, leveraging her connections in the school system, arranged for a meeting with Ethan's teachers and the school counselor. Together, they developed a plan to support Ethan's emotional needs while helping him re-engage with his studies. This included allowing Ethan to keep a photo of Buddy on his desk and scheduling regular check-ins with the counselor. "We're seeing small improvements," Mr. Wilson reported during their next conference. "Ethan seems more focused, and the incidents with other students have decreased." Ms. Jenkins was cautiously optimistic. "I can see the positive impact," she admitted, "but we'll need to continue monitoring the situation closely." Ethan, too, showed signs of progress. His nightmares became less frequent, and he started to participate more actively in family activities. One Sunday afternoon, as they all played fetch with Buddy in the backyard, Ethan's laughter rang out, a sound so pure and joyful that it brought tears to Sarah's eyes. However, challenges remained. Buddy still struggled with strangers, and Ethan's progress, while encouraging, was far from complete. The Thompsons knew they were on a long journey of healing and integration, but they were committed to seeing it through. Ethan smiled sleepily, his hand reaching out to pet Buddy. "Together," he echoed, the word carrying the weight of a promise. "Remember what we practiced, sweetie," Sarah gently reminded Ethan. "Buddy will be okay in the backyard for a little while. We'll check on him often." As neighbors began to arrive, the atmosphere buzzed with cheerful conversation and the aroma of potluck dishes. Ethan stood close to Michael, his eyes darting nervously between the gathering crowd and the gate leading to the backyard where Buddy waited. The party was in full swing when disaster struck. A group of children, excited by the festivities, began an impromptu game of tag. Their shrieks of laughter and pounding feet startled Ethan, triggering memories of his time on the streets. In a moment of panic, he bolted towards the backyard, desperate for Buddy's comforting presence. As Ethan flung open the gate, Buddy, already on high alert from the unfamiliar noises, burst onto the scene. The dog's protective instincts kicked into overdrive at the sight of his boy in distress, surrounded by strangers. Buddy's normally warm brown eyes turned fierce, his hackles raised as he positioned himself between Ethan and the startled partygoers. A tense hush fell over the gathering. Parents instinctively pulled their children close, while others backed away slowly. Officer Sullivan, who had been chatting with Michael, immediately stepped forward, his hand moving towards his hip out of habit. Sarah and Michael exchanged a panicked look. All their progress, all the careful training seemed to unravel in this crucial moment. They called out to Buddy, their voices strained with desperation, but the dog remained fixated on protecting Ethan from the perceived threat. As the tension reached a fever pitch, Mrs. Foster, the elderly neighbor, took a tentative step forward. Now, she said softly, her voice quavering slightly but filled with kindness. There's no need for all this fuss. Ethan, dear, why don't you introduce us properly to your friend? Mrs. Foster's gentle intervention created a momentary lull in the chaos. Ethan, still clutching Buddy, looked up at her familiar, kind face, his sobs quieted to hiccups as he struggled to find his voice. Mrs. Foster nodded encouragingly, maintaining a calm demeanor despite the palpable tension. Well, it's very nice to meet you, Buddy, she said, addressing the dog directly. Thank you for taking such good care of our Ethan. Seizing this moment of calm, Sarah slowly approached, her hands visible and her movements deliberate. That's right, Buddy, she cooed, her voice trembling slightly with a mix of fear and hope. We're all friends here. No one's going to hurt Ethan. Ethan, drawing courage from the supportive presence of his adoptive parents, took a deep breath. It's okay, Buddy, he said, his small hand gently stroking the dog's fur. These are our new friends. We're safe here. The tension in Buddy's body began to ease, his hackles lowering gradually. However, the delicate moment was suddenly shattered by the sharp wail of a police siren in the distance. The unexpected noise startled everyone, causing Buddy to bark loudly and renew his protective stance. Officer Sullivan, recognizing the potential for the situation to escalate again, made a split-second decision. Everyone, please remain calm and still, he instructed firmly. Then, in a move that surprised the onlookers, he slowly lowered himself to the ground, sitting cross-legged on the grass. The unexpected invitation caught Ethan off guard. He looked uncertainly at Sarah and Michael, who nodded encouragingly. Slowly, with Buddy pressed close to his side, Ethan approached the officer. The boy's steps were hesitant, but there was a glimmer of curiosity in his eyes. As Ethan and Buddy settled onto the grass near Officer Sullivan, the atmosphere began to shift. The officer's calm demeanor and genuine interest in Ethan's story seemed to defuse the tension. Neighbors, who moments ago had been backing away in fear, now watched with a mixture of concern and curiosity. Sarah and Michael stood nearby, their hearts racing as they watched this unexpected turn of events unfold. They knew that the next few moments could determine not only the outcome of this crisis, but potentially the future of their fragile family unit. Buddy found me after my mom went to heaven, Ethan said, his small fingers tangled in Buddy's fur. I was scared and alone, but Buddy stayed with me. He brought me food and kept me warm at night. As Ethan continued his tale, Sarah and Michael exchanged glances, realizing that they were hearing parts of Ethan's past that he had never before shared. The neighbors too were captivated by the boy's story, their earlier fear giving way to compassion. All eyes turned to the elderly woman as she continued, her voice quavering with emotion. There was a story on the local news about a brave dog who led the police to a young boy living on the streets. The dog wouldn't leave the boy's side, even when the paramedics arrived. Officer Sullivan's brow furrowed as the memory clicked into place. "I was there that night," he said softly, looking at Buddy with newfound respect. "We'd been searching for days after reports of a stray dog stealing food from local markets. We never expected the dog to lead us to a child in need." This revelation sent a ripple of murmurs through the crowd. The Thompsons, stunned by this unexpected twist, looked at Buddy in a new light. The dog they had seen as a potential threat was, in fact, the very reason Ethan had been rescued and eventually brought into their lives. As the full impact of this revelation sank in, Ethan's eyes welled up with tears. "Buddy saved me," he said, his voice filled with a mixture of gratitude and awe. "He didn't just keep me safe on the streets. He brought help when I needed it most." Michael joined them, placing a gentle hand on Buddy's head. The dog, sensing the shift in energy, relaxed his protective stance and leaned into Michael's touch. The neighbors, who had gathered to witness what they thought was a dangerous situation, now found themselves part of an extraordinary story of loyalty, perseverance, and the unbreakable bond between a boy and his dog. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. The atmosphere of fear and tension that had gripped the gathering earlier dissipated, replaced by a sense of community and shared joy. In this moment of revelation and acceptance, Ethan's grip on Buddy's fur loosened, not out of fear or the need for protection, but with the growing realization that he was finally, truly safe, surrounded by a family and community that understood and embraced both him and his faithful companion. In the days following the revelatory block party, the Thompson household settled into a new rhythm, one that fully embraced Buddy's presence and acknowledged his crucial role in their family's formation. The initial challenges they had faced began to resolve themselves in light of the community's understanding and support. Sarah and Michael, armed with the full story of Buddy's heroism, approached their landlord once again. This time, they were met with compassion and flexibility. "A dog like that isn't just a pet," the landlord admitted. "He's family. We'll make it work." At Ethan's school, Mr. Wilson and the administration worked together to implement a gradual reintegration plan. They set up a quiet space where Ethan could retreat if he felt overwhelmed, adorned with photos of Buddy to provide comfort. The school counselor also arranged regular sessions to help Ethan process his emotions and experiences. "We're seeing remarkable progress," the counselor reported during a meeting with the Thompsons. "Ethan is opening up more in class, and his interactions with peers have significantly improved. Buddy and Ethan's story has the power to change perceptions," Officer Sullivan explained during one of his visits. "We're using it to promote understanding and compassion in our community outreach programs." As weeks passed, the Thompsons noticed a profound change in both Ethan and Buddy. The boy's nightmares became less frequent, and his smile, once a rare sight, now brightened their home regularly. Buddy, too, seemed more relaxed, his protective instincts balanced with a growing trust in his new family and environment. Sarah and Michael's parenting approach evolved as well. They learned to incorporate Buddy into their family routines and decision-making, recognizing the dog's importance to Ethan's sense of security and emotional well-being. The concerns raised by social services were addressed through regular check-ins and progress reports. Ms. Jenkins, initially skeptical about Buddy's presence, became an advocate for the unique family dynamic she observed. Perhaps the most significant resolution came in the form of Ethan's growing ability to connect with others beyond Buddy. While the dog remained his closest confidant, Ethan began to extend trust to his adoptive parents, teachers, and even some of his peers. This transformation was evident during a school presentation, where Ethan, with Buddy by his side as a specially approved therapy animal, shared their story with his classmates. The once shy boy spoke with confidence, his voice strong as he described how Buddy had saved him and led him to his new family. As Ethan concluded his presentation to applause from his classmates and tearful smiles from his teachers, it was clear that the biggest conflicts, those within Ethan's heart, were finally finding resolution. The emotional journey of the Thompson family, Ethan and Buddy, touched not only their immediate circle, but rippled outward, affecting the entire community. The story of a boy and his loyal dog, once a tale of survival, had transformed into one of hope, healing, and the power of unconditional love. For Ethan, the impact was profound and multifaceted. The security he felt with Buddy by his side allowed him to gradually lower his emotional defenses. He began to accept and return the affection offered by Sarah and Michael, no longer fearing that this new love might suddenly disappear. One evening, as Sarah tucked him into bed, Ethan surprised her by wrapping his arms around her neck in a tight hug. "I love you, Mom," he whispered, using the word Mom for the first time. Sarah's eyes filled with tears of joy as she held him close, feeling the walls between them crumbling. Michael experienced a similar breakthrough during a weekend project building a treehouse. As they worked side by side, Ethan began to open up about his past, sharing memories of his birth mother and his time on the streets. Michael listened attentively, offering comfort and understanding, strengthening the bond between father and son. Buddy, too, underwent an emotional transformation. The once wary dog began to see the Thompsons not just as Ethan's caretakers, but as his own family. He started to seek affection from Sarah and Michael, and his protective instincts extended to include them. The emotional impact extended beyond the Thompson household, touching the lives of those around them. Mrs. Foster, who had played a crucial role in diffusing the tension at the block party, became a regular visitor. She often brought over homemade treats for both the family and Buddy, her presence a comforting reminder of the community's support. "You know," she said one afternoon, watching Ethan and Buddy play in the yard, "seeing you all together gives me hope. It's a testament to the healing power of love and acceptance." Officer Sullivan found that his perspective on his work had shifted. He began advocating for stronger connections between law enforcement and social services, using Ethan and Buddy's story as a powerful example of how community involvement could change lives. The Thompsons, reflecting on their journey, realized how much they had grown as individuals and as a family. The challenges they had faced in integrating Buddy into their lives had ultimately strengthened their bonds and opened their hearts in ways they never imagined. "We thought we were rescuing Ethan," Sarah mused one evening, watching her son and his faithful companion curled up together on the couch. "But in truth, Ethan and Buddy rescued us. They taught us the true meaning of family." As the seasons changed, the Thompson household settled into a harmonious rhythm that embraced their unique family dynamic. The once empty house now buzzed with the energy of a boy's laughter and a dog's playful barks, a testament to the transformative power of love and perseverance. On a crisp autumn day, exactly 1 year after Buddy's dramatic reappearance in Ethan's life, the Thompsons decided to commemorate the occasion with a special celebration. They invited their neighbors, Ethan's teachers, Officer Sullivan, and even Ms. Jenkins from Social Services to join them for a backyard barbecue. As twilight settled over the gathering, Michael stood up to make a toast. "A year ago, we thought we were complete when Ethan joined our family," he began, his voice filled with emotion. "Little did we know that our family had room to grow even more. Buddy, you're not just Ethan's protector, you're the missing piece that made us whole." Ethan, standing between Sarah and Michael with Buddy faithfully by his side, beamed with happiness. The fear and uncertainty that had once clouded his eyes were replaced by a spark of joy and confidence. As their guests raised their glasses in celebration, Ethan knelt down to hug Buddy tightly. "We're home, boy," he whispered into the dog's fur. "We're finally home." "Until," The scene captured the essence of their journey: a boy, a dog, and a family bound together by love, resilience, and the unbreakable spirit of hope. In that moment, under the warm glow of string lights and surrounded by their supportive community, the Thompsons knew that they had not just overcome their challenges, they had flourished because of them. The Thompson family's journey, which began with uncertainty and fear, culminated in a heartwarming celebration of love, acceptance, and community. Ethan, once a withdrawn and traumatized child, blossomed into a confident young boy, supported by his adoptive parents and his faithful companion, Buddy. The dog, initially seen as a potential threat, proved to be the catalyst for healing and growth, not just for Ethan, but for the entire family and community. Their story touched many lives, from neighbors like Mrs. Foster to authority figures like Officer Sullivan, inspiring positive changes in the school system and local law enforcement. The Thompsons' experience highlighted the transformative power of compassion, patience, and understanding in overcoming life's challenges. 2 years later, the Thompsons have become advocates for animal-assisted therapy and support for foster children. Ethan, now thriving in school, often visits animal shelters with Buddy, sharing their story to encourage adoptions. The once fearful dog has become a certified therapy animal, bringing comfort to children in similar situations to Ethan's former circumstances. Inspired by Ethan and Buddy's story, consider supporting your local animal shelters and foster care systems. Every child deserves a loving home, and every loyal pet deserves a family. Remember, sometimes the most unexpected connections can lead to the most beautiful outcomes. Open your heart, and you might just find your own Buddy waiting to change your life.